One of the most iconic aspects of Mario games, besides the gameplay, are the power-ups. One of the best part of new entries is experiencing them and seeing what they're capable of. While these are all fine and dandy, I want to take a look at these power-ups in a different light. Namely, if we stop looking at things from a gameplay perspective and view them from within the universe, would it make sense for some of these to work and exist the way they do as shown to us, the player, or is there another reason for their inclusion? Before we begin, let me lay down some ground rules. What I mean by power-up is an item that grants special abilities to a character. I won't be using items that are specifically gameplay mechanics such as the Boost Star, Coin Rush Star, or any new power-up that shows up in Super Mario Maker 1, 3DS, and 2, as these games are strictly designed around the build your own Mario levels aspect and have no bearing on any narrative. No items from the kart or party games. Also, no items from the RPGs in Paper Mario series, as these do not classify as power-ups. With that said, let's begin. Let's start off simple. We have a power-up whose reasoning for existing isn't very speculative, that being the P-Wing. The P-Wing in Super Mario Bros. 3 gives the bros unlimited flight in their raccoon forms for one level by keeping the power gauge maxed out. This already cements itself as a gameplay mechanic, given the form's flight capabilities, whether it be full-on flight or gliding, are determined by the games they're in. It's been shown to us that the form by itself is capable of unlimited flight, but having access to this property, limited or at all, would break a lot of the games they're in by going against its design, explaining its fluctuation. However, the P-Wing's purpose changed in Super Mario 3D Land. In this game, it only appears if Mario or Luigi die 10 times in a skipped normal world level, causing a P-Wing assist block to appear. Using it will send the player directly to the goalpost. As such, the power-up, if it can even be called that anymore, is simply an assist tool for struggling players. Going off the last point, we have the invincibility leaf and bell. The invincibility bell only appears in the Switch port of 3D World and can only be acquired by scanning the Cat Mario or Cat Peach amiibo. Cat Mario guarantees the power-up while Cat Peach has a chance to, since hers spawn a random power-up. As the name of the power-up suggests, it turns you into the cat form with invincibility akin to a superstar that's permanent. Well, it's not truly permanent. The form only lasts for one level before you have to use another one. As for the invincibility leaf, it appears in New Super Mario Bros. 2, both versions of 3D World, and Super Mario 3D Land. Similar to the P-Wing, an assist block containing the power-up will show up in New 2 and 3D Land if you lose 5 lives in a level and turn you into a white raccoon and white tanuki respectively. While in 3D World, the amount of lost lives needed to spawn it varies based on the number of players. I'm not saying all of that, just look at the screen. Turning you into a white tanuki. As for Bowser's Fury, it doesn't show up in that mode. Once again, we have some power-ups that are clearly designed to assist struggling players, given the conditions required for them to show up. In the Bell's case, it doesn't even show up naturally within the game. You have to spawn it in through outside means. Not only do these only last for a single level, you as the player are punished by using these, as any level they're used in is marked as incomplete. As for the invincibility aspect, it's unnaturally overpowered compared to the others in the verse, as superstars and their variants only last for a short amount of time. If these things were real, Movie Bowser should have just gone looking for one of these. Truly, no one would have been able to stop him. There is another point I want to make, but first I'll cover another invincibility power-up with similar mechanics, the Invincibility Mushroom. Debuting in Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, this power-up is just like the others in nature, only appearing after a number of deaths, granting invincibility, only lasting for the level it's used in, and in the 3DS and Switch versions can be summoned by an amiibo. However, this power-up actually has relevance to a game's plot in Superstar Saga plus Bowser's Minions. In Minion Quest: The Search for Bowser, Captains Goomba, Shy Guy, and Boo are asked by a toad to retrieve an invincibility mushroom from a nearby cave in exchange for some beans. They find it alongside a poison mushroom, but don't know which is which due to not knowing what the invincibility mushroom looks like. They bring back the poison one and the toad takes it, himself not knowing what said mushroom truly looked like. And this invincibility mushroom would later be won by Mario and Luigi in Little Fungi Town. Now, this is pretty significant seeing how this power-up's existence contributed to a major plot point in the story by slightly retconning it. In the original, eating the Invenza shroom, as it was called, caused Mario to get bean fever, an illness that affected many travelers who aren't used to the food of the Bean Kingdom. In the remake, however, he just straight up got poisoned, and his condition was confused for bean fever due to a similarity of symptoms. That and the doctor probably assumed it was bean fever given Mario's a foreigner. Seeing how there's actual proof that this power-up exists, I have two interpretations for this and the other power-ups in question. The first is that, of these invincibility power-ups, the invincibility mushroom is the only one that's real, while the invincibility leaf and bell are just gameplay mechanics, though the problem with its seemingly unlimited invincibility would still be a problem. As for the second, you could argue that all of these are just rare variants of their base power-ups, with invincibility that lasts longer than a superstar, by arguing that the stage timer is the length of its duration, explaining why, after use, you return to that form's base state. You get the powers alongside invincibility that lasts for a decent amount of time before wearing off. I'll leave it up to you which interpretation you want to go with, or you could go with your own. Next are the Flutter Wings and Golden Flutter Wings from Yoshi's New Island. This is the last invincible power-up, I swear. If you die 3 times, Mr. Pipe will give you the Flutter Wings that allow Yoshi to hover without losing height and only last for 1 level. If you somehow die again while using that, you'll be given Golden Flutter Wings. Same shit, different game. It gives you the same powers as its base alongside invincibility. Now, you may be wondering why I included both versions, given they follow a similar formula to the others, a base power-up with an invincible variant. The first is what the base power-up does. As I said earlier, the power given is the ability to flutter jump without losing height. I find this weird seeing how there's another power-up that does something very similar, but better, Yoshi's Wings from Super Mario World. That game's wings grant Yoshi unlimited flight for a short time. So why have this distinction? Simple. Game functionality. Super Mario World allows for unlimited flight by design. If you get Yoshi wings using the blue shell method, Yoshi can fly freely through a level, but he will eventually swallow the shell, causing the wings to disappear. If you find them in a box, you will be sent to Coin Heaven, where Yoshi can fly freely, with the level ending after that section. Under these circumstances, you can more concretely argue that the Coin Heaven duration serves as the power-up's timer when compared to the shell method. Now let's compare this to the Flutter Wings. The Flutter Wings already present itself as more of a helping hand, seeing how you can't find them naturally, and they only appear after a number of deaths. The application of the wings are very limited, seeing how free-form flight akin to Super Mario World would completely go against the game's design, as seen by the Raccoon Tanuki example, followed by the fact that you have to die again to be given a version with invincibility. Even if you don't believe that, I'd say my second reason is a bit more sound. Towards the end of the game, most people are aware that you're supposed to fight Bowser from the future after defeating his past self, interrupting the rescue of Luigi and the Stork. However, if you use the Flutter Wings to complete any level, this part is skipped entirely and you save them with no interference, after which the credits play and Mario and Luigi are delivered to their proper parents. At this point, Bowser from the future shows up, telling you to beat all of the levels without Flutter Wings to challenge him. Not only does using the wings lock you out of the game's true ending, but it also omits the scene where Mr. Pipe, you know, the person or thing that gave you the wings in the first place, is revealed to be Mario from the future. Bowser in the game tell you as straightforwardly as possible that you were not to and should not have used this free handout, forcing you to play through the events of the game the way they were supposed to play out in order to get the true ending. Next, we have arguably the most contentious section in this video, and that's nearly every power-up in Super Mario 64 DS. It's highly debated amongst fans which version of the game is canon, but that's a subject for another day. For now, let's talk about the first power-up, the Power Flower. Due to the addition of Luigi and Wario, the way the 3 cap blocks worked or exclamation blocks work is completely different. Instead of there being 3 blocks, they were all merged into one question block which contains the Power Flower. This power-up splits up the 3 abilities by giving Luigi invisibility power, the Vanish Cap, Wario Metal Power, the Metal Cap, and Mario gets the P balloon from Super Mario World? Just why? Oh, and Yoshi gains the ability to breathe fire. As for the wing cap, this has been changed into a white feather simply called wings that also come out of the question block in certain levels for Mario, as he's the only one that can use it outside of multiplayer. You could argue that these items only exist to accommodate for the additional characters and changes made to various courses by restricting the amount of usable power-ups per character, justifying the need to use them. However, there's no reason why Yoshi, Luigi, or Wario shouldn't be able to use the same power-ups Mario used in the original, except that the means to get them just aren't in this game. This especially isn't helped by the fact that, like I said earlier, Mario is the only character in the story mode that can use the wings, despite the fact that everybody can do so in multiplayer. Now, I did say these were contentious as you could justify their existence. A sign in Big Boo's haunt describes the Power Flower by claiming it gives heroes powers depending on their personalities, which could justify itself by giving each individual a separate power. As for the wings, the feather could just serve as the direct power-up item for that specific ability, but neither case is really helped by the fact that this remake is the only game they show up in. The next one from this game is strongly connected to another power, so I'll be talking about them together, those being the caps and the Super Crown. Starting with the caps, caps of Mario, Luigi, and Wario are scattered throughout various levels, and when worn, they turn the user into said character with all of their abilities. The only thing they don't gain is their voice. Remember this part. This allows the character to be playable in levels or certain segments of levels they otherwise can't be in or can't get through. For example, to get all of the red coins in Big Boo Battle, you need Wario to get one of the coins due to it being in a block. But Wario can't reach the painting to access that level because he can't jump high enough, so you have to use a Luigi cap on the first floor to get there. From there, however, Wario still can't get all of the red coins, due to one of them floating over a pit in a corner, so you need to use a Mario cap to use his Power Flower ability to float over there. I'll stop here for now and come back later. As for the Super Crown, it was introduced in New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe as a power-up only usable to a newcomer to this version of the game, Toadette. Sorry, Luigi. For her, the power-up replaces the Super Acorn found in boxes, turning her into a Peach look-alike called Peachette. It grants her the ability to double jump, which Peach cannot do, float like Peach, and grants one free boost out of pits, lava, and poison while in the air. Unlike the Super Acorn it replaces, it functions a bit differently, lacking the wall clinging and having a slower descent. If Toadette isn't being used, the power-up cannot be found in levels and can only be acquired through Toad houses or enemy courses. If anyone besides Toadette attempts to use the power-up acquired through these methods, it will have no effect. Similar to the caps, the Super Crown doesn't give Toadette Peach's voice as you are led to believe. When you triple jump as Peachette, occasionally on the final jump, Toadette will slip back into her real voice, followed by her clearing her throat. One reason this power-up may not exist is the fact that Toadette is one of the easy mode characters added to this game, alongside Nabbit. While she's being played, any block containing a 1-up mushroom becomes 3-up moons. An additional 100 seconds is added to the stage timer. She could swim freely through the water, and is less slippery than Mario, Luigi, and Toad, who all play the same. Her additional abilities as Peachette only hammer this point further. Something else that doesn't help is the ending. If you get to the final boss with Peachette, Peach will react with confusion before the battle starts. After the fight, even if you're still transformed, Toadette is the one who appears to rescue Peach. And I'm gonna tell you right now that she did not de-transform. It doesn't matter what character you're using or what power-up, they will always appear in their base state, or their super form as it's called. The whole small form thing is just a gameplay mechanic. This implies that Bowser was defeated without the use of power-ups. The amount of similarities between the Cap and Super Crown are no coincidence. Both power-ups are only in remakes of established games, both grant the wearer all of the physical abilities of the person it represents, and both allow said representative to be playable in situations or scenarios they otherwise can't be. For Yoshi and Co, it can be to traverse areas they can't or use powers they can't, and for Peach or Toadette, however you want to put it, It allows Peach to be a playable character in a game she logically can't be in, while also serving as an even easier easy mode. But don't think the problems with these pieces of headwear end here. Let's say for argument's sake 64DS is the canon one for a minute. In Superstar Saga, when Mario got bean fever and Luigi was too scared to get the cure, he should have just taken Mario's cap and turned it to him. Or is that not how it works? He wouldn't have needed to be hypnotized. And later on, his disguise as Peach should have worked because he could have looked exactly like Peach. He wouldn't have been exposed because of his mustache. Here's one more for you. Every Toad in the Mushroom Kingdom should also carry a Mario or Luigi cap. Whenever Bowser and his army pull up, they can just whip those things out and turn into an army of Mario and Luigis as strong as the real deals.
We won't let those fuckers take this land! Isn't that right, Toads? Right!
Okay, that's enough, I made my point. Finally, while this one may not be a power-up per se, I figured I'd include it given it's in a majority of the games. We're gonna end on any 1-up related item. I can think of a handful of people who could have benefited from one of these. Cacoletta, Fawful, the Shrew Princesses, Antasma, Wrinkly Kong, Bobby, Dementio, the list goes on. This was never considered a solution for any characters that's either died or was on the verge of death. Now the main counter argument to this point would be the statements from Super Paper Mario, where mainly the shade that introduces Mario to the underwear and Luigi mention extra lives. While this may seem concrete, a lot of moments throughout the series would contradict this point. As I mentioned earlier, a handful of characters would have benefited from having an extra life and would have made situations nowhere near as dire as they're made out to be. Take the villains for example. You mean to tell me not a single one accounted for the possibility that they might be defeated? Not even the long-time schemers like Dementio and especially Fawful? I'd find it hard to argue that every single one of them were so egotistical and confident in their plans and abilities that none of them thought to acquire at least one extra life. How about the other side of the coin for characters on the verge of death or about to die? Namely, Bobby. Why didn't he get an extra life before blowing himself up so he could just come back like nothing happened? It doesn't matter which way you twist it, this power-up simply cannot be real and is the most gameplay mechanic-like item in this entire video. But with all of that said, tell me your thoughts in the comment sections below and subscribe to keep up with the channel's content. Until next time, see ya.